Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Stigma-Free Society. Today, we're going to have an amazing chat with a very intelligent woman, Junie Swadron. And before we get into it, I'm just going to go through a couple of things. So, my name is Nisha. I'm a registered clinical counselor. I have a background in teaching, and I've worked with the intake. With the Ministry of Children and Family Development. So I own a media company and we specialize in documentaries and social media commercials. And so I'm going to be your host for this series. I have seen some of you every Wednesday at 2, and welcome to all the new people who are watching. Also, please, if you feel that this would be helpful to someone, as we're going to be talking about mental health during the times that we're in right now, please feel free to share the link. So, a quick disclaimer. In this video, we're going to talk about COVID-19 and how it's impacting our lives. And some people are enjoying staying home while others are having a difficult time staying inside. And really, there's a whole gamut of everything in between. This is new territory for all of us. If you feel like you are at risk or in crisis regarding your mental health, know that you need to stop watching and call 911 so that our amazing first responders can do their jobs. Okay, so there we go. Now I would love to welcome Junie Swadron. So let me just switch the whole, there we go. Junie, welcome. Junie is an author, an international speaker, a psychotherapist, a playwright, a workshop facilitator, and professional writing coach. Wow, this is amazing, Junie. You wear so many hats, but they're all connected. So welcome and thanks for being here, Junie.
Thank you so much, Nisha. It's a pleasure.
Oh, it's my pleasure as well. And it's been such a pleasure getting to know your work and a bit about like you and like the amazing things you do. And how are you doing today, first of all?
I'm doing really well. Thank you. Really well. Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, we are wanting to talk today about how people are doing in this time of COVID-19. You know, our mental health is definitely in focus right now. There's a lot going on. And so what I thought would be a nice way to start, because I think you are wonderful at this, is that we could maybe start with some grounding work. Would you mind like leading us through a like 2-3 minute guided meditation just to kind of get us all connected and get us all, maybe decompressed and feeling good before we start our 30-minute talk?
I'll do my best. I just always make them up as I go.
No, that's perfect. That sounds great.
Yeah. Okay, so if people are comfortable, they can please just you can close your eyes if you're comfortable, or just make it soft focus and begin to focus on your breath. Just taking some deep breaths in from your belly. And you can hold maybe for a count of 3. And then release. Release. Yes, just let it go. And let's just do that at your own pace, 2 or 3 times. Deep inhalations, letting your belly expand. Hold it for a moment or 2 as you're comfortable. And when you exhale, fully let go. Just let go. What no longer serves you. Allowing each breath as you breathe in deeply to bring you into this present moment. Right here, right now, nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. Just simply allowing yourself to be here in this precious one moment. Notice that every breath, and you can start to just move into your own natural rhythm as you notice that every breath, conscious breath, brings us into a deeper state of relaxation, tranquility. You can notice if you're carrying any tension in any parts of your body. And if you are, then just imagine your breath, pure, beautiful prana, moving into those places where you might be feeling some tension, to soften, release, and let go. And give yourself permission right now for the next while we're on this call to just be fully present. Allow yourself to be right where you are, knowing that wherever you are is the perfect place to be. But give yourself the intention to just be focused and open to learn and to receive. And this is your time. And it's my time. It's Nisha's time. So open your eyes whenever you like to come back.
Wow. Thank you, Junie. For those who are watching, if you would like to share how that felt for you, feel free to add it into the comments. I know that might not be like the normal way that we might open up, but I feel that it's very important to use this opportunity to ground and to feel good and to just really be in touch with like the moment. So thanks so much, Junie.
Well,
So, Junie, you have a long list of impressive achievements, and the areas of work that you're working in are vast. Can you tell us a bit about, I listed all the amazing things that you're doing, but a bit about what you do and also what brought you to do the work you do, both as a psychotherapist, coach, and workshop facilitator?
right. Okay. I'd love to. One of my favorite stories, actually, is what brought me to the work. And this is the perfect forum to talk about it because I was diagnosed with bipolar illness when I was 20, and I'm 70. And so 50 years ago, I wouldn't be we wouldn't have had this kind of this opportunity to be on a computer either, but nobody talked about this. No, there was no place other than, your immediate family or something like that. And you just kept it secret. I mean, still today, we've come light years from where it used to be.
So
But
true.
so true, because more and more people have started to come forward and share what was going on for them, like people in the media and people who are actors and famous people would come forward, and then it gave permission for other people to know that maybe they could too. But way back then, there was such a stigma, huge stigma, that you just kept it secret.
Yeah.
So I had a really hard time with it. I can't say that I didn't. I'm really proud of the fact that I have navigated through that to a place where that isn't my identity anymore, but it was for a lot of years.
And Junie, like we're talking about 50 years, right?
Yeah.
A long time. And I would say that, even for myself, for many years, I would not talk to anyone about my anxiety or depression. It was just not something I did. And I feel like this time now has really helped me to feel more comfortable to say, like, I think we're all going through different things with our mental health. And like,
absolutely.
How can we be authentic? And so, like, what was your turning point that helped you?
The turning point for me was, it's a tool that I've always used, and it's the one that, after a circuitous route getting there, is writing. When I was a kid, I found my diary, my little 5-year diary that I filled up in no time at all, was a place where I could express my own feelings about things. And it was my private place, and it was a sacred place, and it was the only place that I really could feel that I was safe, really, because in my family it wasn't really all that safe to talk about things, and so I learned at an early age I mean, now, I mean, journaling wasn't part of the vernacular. My mother never said, go to your room and journal, you'll feel better, right? No, but I was lucky enough to get a little diary when I was 11 years old, and it became my lifeline, really.
Yeah.
And then, so that would help tremendously. And then, so fast forward through a lot of time when I was very, very depressed, or I'd end up in the hospital. And at one time I was seeing a psychiatrist, and I had just read a book. And it was about 30 years and 25 years ago or something like that. And it was Writing Down the Bones by Natalie Goldberg. And I thought, oh my God, this woman writes just like me, and she's a writing teacher, and I know how to do that. And I went to see my psychiatrist, who I really liked, by the way. I finally found somebody who I felt was really on my side. And
that's a very important part. I think what you're mentioning right there is whoever you see as your psychiatrist or your psychologist or your, clinical counselor, whoever it is, it's important to have like a connection.
It's essential to have a connection with that person. And we are those of us who are looking for somebody, and we have the right to say no and choose somebody else.
Yes, great point. Like if you have one session with someone, you don't feel the connection, feel free to switch it, right?
Yeah.
It's not
it's essential, because if you don't feel safe with the person, you don't feel comfortable, you don't feel heard, then you walk out feeling sometimes worse.
The safety is everything. I agree.
It is. So anyway, I saw this doctor, and I saw him, and I said, Doc, I just read this book, and I think I can do writing groups. And have you ever done that before? No. Do you have a degree in English literature? No. Take a lot of chutzpah, don't you think? Yeah, I guess so. And he said, Junie, I say go for it. He was a trickster, and he knew me, because I was so shy, and I often would write things and show them to him to read as opposed to talk them out loud. So he knew I loved to write, and I was holding my breath through the whole thing. Oh. And the thing was, if he was really serious and said, I don't think you should do it, I don't think you have the what you need, you don't have the credentials, you don't have this, you don't have that, I probably wouldn't have. I didn't have the confidence at the time. I needed his approval still. I needed someone to tell me that it was okay. Yeah. And so I did. So anyway, so that was the first thing. And so when I went back, I went to school, and I became a psychotherapist, and I spent a lot of years in school doing that, 5 actually. And then at the same time that I put my shingle out to do that, I started facilitating writing groups, because I know of the therapeutic, creative, cathartic power of the written word, right? And a journal can be your best friend, Nisha.
Oh, I agree. When I was little, I'm really thankful that my mom, she gave me a gift of a journal, and it had a little lock and key.
Right.
And it was super cute, and it said my journal, and she told me just write in it. And I remember, like in retrospect, that was one of the best gifts she could have ever given me, to give me the opportunity to know that I have a safe space to write what I'm thinking and feeling and whatever's going on with me, and that is my private journal. And she didn't read it, not that I know of, but she never invaded that privacy, and it really did a lot for me. And so I love that you believe in the power of writing and that you help people with it. Junie, do you think there's a certain age that you would encourage, because a lot of parents might be watching, and young kids, is there a certain age that you think would be good to introduce journaling to young children?
As soon as they begin to write.
Yeah, really.
Honestly, you know what? Why not?
Why not?
Why not? Why not? And you know why? Well, we've touched on it, but because there's something private that a child can realize, it's something that is theirs alone, and it's for their little secret things. You know, I mean, when I first started, I mean, you know, when I was a teenager, it was all about the boys, and you know, or the letdowns, or I failed that test, or you know, is so and so going to call me, or what do I do about this?
Of course,
the clarity would emerge on the page. What? Because it bypasses when you just write. It's not about proper English and spelling and grammar and punctuation and syntax and all that stuff we learn in school. It's just about what our thoughts are. And if you just write them on the page without any rules, that in itself, sorry, I'm just plugging in my computer. Yes. Yes, I just noticed the plug was out. That without rules, that you're free to just write what's in your heart. And then you have to hide it somewhere so nobody does read it, because that's a big violation. But I think that kids, whatever age, if they show an interest, or just for parents to be able to say, you know what, honey, why don't you write your feelings out? Just to bring in the concept of that. And know that, and I'm not going to read it, sweetheart.
Yes,
that's no, I'm not going to read it. So they're not going to be worried about spelling and oh my God. And
judgment into those. We're like, oh wait, this was wrong, and you spelt this word. And you know what's actually interesting is I think about the Stigma-Free Society, and they have this amazing toolkit, and within their toolkit, they have all these conversation starters between parents and kids of different ages, like young kids, teenager kids, you know, teenagers, that you can have conversation starters to talk about COVID-19 and what they're going through and what they're feeling. And maybe if you're not necessarily going to have the conversation, you could even give those as examples to the kids of, here's a conversation starter, or like give them a topic on something. How do you feel during, you know, all this that's happening in COVID-19? That could be a journal starter or entry if they don't know what to write about.
Absolutely. And you know what? It can be a family activity as well. Because a family activity where, pardon me?
This is very helpful for adults as well.
Oh, yeah. Totally. It's for everybody, because I think we all need that safe place. But, you know, to just have that. But there's a thing, I mean, I do Sunday afternoon sacred writing circles, and I've been doing them for close to 30 years.
Wow.
Every Sunday, you know, and, you know, if anybody's interested, they can go on my website and find it, but at JunieSwadron.com. Yeah, SWADRON.com, and they can find it. So every Sunday afternoon, I do these 2-hour, and the intimacy that happens, because there's we don't, it's not a critique group. It's a place where people I give a writing prompt, and people can go anywhere they want with it. They can even say this writing prompt sucks and go somewhere else. And that's fine. And then they get to read it and just be supported and heard and acknowledged. And I think that a family, you know, we could just say, how are you feeling? You know, or what's the best thing that happened to you today? Or what are we grateful for? And, you know, we can just put the sorts of things, or what would you like to write about, sweetheart? And if you have more than one kid, each night or day or whenever you're doing this together as a family, it's the other child's opportunity to say, well, this is what's on my mind today, and could we all write that? And then you share. But there are very poignant guidelines. I don't like the word rules, but you know what? And those are about, this is a time to honor each other. This isn't about laughing if somebody feels something, or why is this, or did that really happen? That's stupid, or, you know, the kinds of things. So this is about anti-bullying. This is about really supporting each other and getting to know each other. I mean, this is such a incredible opportunity, a time when children are at home, and as much as it's a frustrating, it has to be, as much as it's a challenging time for parents, because the children are home 24/7, they're not going to school, and so many parents like yourself are homeschooling and learning curriculums and doing all that. The beauty of this too is it's a perfect time to really get to know your child, and for them to get to know you and each other, and the siblings to get to know each other in a way that who's had time before.
No, I love that. I think you're so right that we're so thankful that we can use this time, and it could really go either way, right? Like we could start to think of like, I'm stressed and we're together and what do we do and what do I do with you? Or we can think, I'm so thankful to be with you. And what do I do with my children? Why don't I just take out some paper? Everyone, here's a piece of paper. Let's just write for 10 minutes. Write about
Yeah,
anything you want. And why, like, you know, you're saying that writing is a therapeutic tool, correct? That it's something that helps you. And what do you see come out of this for people? You know, you have been writing and facilitating writing workshops for 30 years. There's this power in the written word. What do you see
absolutely.
out of it?
Yeah, well, the results are so many that, one, the privacy, two, the clarity that we don't necessarily get on our, we bypass the left linear logical mind. There's something else that when we write with our hands, it's connected to our body. It's a visceral experience. And this doesn't happen to everybody, but but I think you won't know unless you can try it. For me, it's almost like there's this benevolent. I don't feel alone when I write. I
Yes.
feel
Oh,
like there's a presence that's there with me. I don't feel so afraid. I just feel like I'm being held. And I have had that since I was a young child. Now it may not happen, but it's often many people's experience. The other beauty of writing, and there's many different ways, and I've got like one of my books is Right Where You Are. What's it called? Um, for those who dream of writing but don't know where to begin. So it's got all these kind of tools and whatever and ways to write, like the angry blaming letter, which you never send, but
yeah.
but you get it out of your system. But
Yes.
one of the beautiful things that appeals to me is the some of my most painful entries became phenomenal poetry
Mm.
or short stories or the play. The play that I wrote, which was years, after I had become a psychotherapist, and I had kept it secret that I had bipolar. And
Oh.
I could not, it just wasn't right anymore. That,
Mm.
people were coming to me and I knew that I was helping. I knew that. I knew that I was trained and I have a big heart but at the same time, there was this kind of, they're the ones coming to me as though I don't have anything wrong with me
Mm.
or don't have anything that of a past or sometimes it was a present, sometimes I was quite depressed and and of course, I'd be able to bracket that, put it in parentheses, and be with my clients fully, completely. And
Yes,
so
of
yeah, it's
course.
like getting up and feeding the kids, right? We
Yeah.
just do what we need
You
to
just do
do.
it.
And you just
There's many
put that
days that I
time.
have just done and worked and showed up and had a big smile on my face, and yet inside I was dying. I was depressed, and yet we're
Right.
very good at showing up with a mask of everything's fine. But why do we have to do that?
Right. And exactly. And so one day, after actually being in a hospital for clinical depression, and then starting to feeling really okay again afterwards, and I just happened to have the right meds that worked. I mean, sometimes they really do, and sometimes you're over medicated or whatever. But sometimes I've had the experience with enough therapy behind me that the meds are just, oh, this chemical thing that's going on in my brain, it works, and wow, I'm back. So I knew I could facilitate groups, but I had stopped them. And beforehand, and whatever, it was summer and everything was quiet anyway, so it was good. Now I decided, you know what, Junie? You're not going back, even though you can.
Mm.
You've got to figure out something else that's going to be in integrity. And what kept coming to me was, you got to tell your story. And I kept saying, oh, you
Mm.
don't mean me. No, you don't mean me. I'm not doing that. Anyway, fast forward a year later, I had written a play called Madness, Masks, and Miracles about the madness of the dark night of the soul we all go through on this human journey.
Yeah.
The masks we wear, just like you just mentioned, masks to hide the heartbreak or the grief or the pain or the sadness or the whatever is going on. The mask, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine. Thanks for asking. I'm fine. And the miracles that allow you to take off the masks and be real.
Be real.
And it was to dispel myths and stigmas about mental illness, because to me, we're more than our diagnosis and our pathology.
Yes.
We're so much more than whatever that is, and whatever the DSM, whatever number it is these days, tells you. And so I was terrified, because I thought, well, there's the end of my career. But in fact, it was a boost to my career, because other people were now able to come out. The play was a big success. It was in Vancouver. And to 400 mental health workers. I thought I'd lose my job as a mental health worker in downtown East Side, but instead I think I got a raise. More people were able to come out and tell their stories and feel safe. And it was, now I'm a huge advocate for mental health, and I have no shame in saying, yes, this is my history, and these are the ways that you can be resilient to come through whatever it is.
Oh, I love that. A big part of what we do in our company is it's all about, like, what's your story? In our company of Human Biography, we ask, people about their lives, and we talk to, like, icons and thought leaders and celebrities. But what I'm really seeing even more so now than ever is that everyone's story matters, and everyone should know that. Like, we've all been through difficult times, joyful times. We're all hurt. We all laugh. We all feel. And I love this quote that you had on your site, is that you seeing that the writing process is therapeutic and creative, and it's about accessing a special place within us where serenity, love, courage, and truth reside. It is from this place that we begin to know our true spirit. It is from this place we begin to heal. And that just means so much to me. And what I'm feeling and seeing in the world right now is I feel people healing, and that there's an opportunity to heal. And so, like, what are we doing daily? Like, something easy and simple to help us heal could be, writing. It could be being in touch with what we're feeling, sharing.
And yes, yes. We all matter. My last book is Your Life Matters, and it's all about writing memoir, because that's what I help people do, is to write their stories, whatever age. Entrepreneurs, doesn't matter. We all have a story. But I'm all about creativity. Yeah, writing is a great, but the creative process, oh my gosh, it doesn't matter if it's writing. If writing's not your thing, I mean, journaling to me is huge. It's a lifeline. And whatever, we're all born with an impulse to create.
Yes.
For those people, it's not me, who are number people, and they love playing with, numbers, and that's their creative thing, or, an easel in your painting, it doesn't matter what photography, it doesn't really matter what your creative impulse is, because when we're not, something inside of us dies, our spirit begins to die. There's something about the creative process itself that brings us into the moment, that we forget everything else. Oh my God, look at the time. I had no idea, and that because it just goes while we're doing something that our heart loves. And
like, I feel like there's a quote, I don't know if I'm making this up or I think it's a real quote, but if we're not creating, we're dying.
Well, if it isn't a real quote, it should be.
It should be, right?
And it does, yeah. It just came from, well, it's true. It's true. Our spirit begins to die. And I watched that. I watched it with me. I've watched it. I facilitated a support group for 15 years for the book The Artist's Way, and by Julia Cameron. And I started it because I didn't think I was creative, right? I thought, oh, well, this will help me.
Yes.
And at some point, I stopped because whatever the exercise was too hard. Eventually, I said, oh, I know how I'll finish it. I'll just facilitate a group 15 years later. Wow. And now, again, really soon, I'm going to be doing it again. Very soon. It's
so funny, Junie, like we were talking about this, but I always give The Artist's Way as a gift to people.
Look at you.
As a gift. And yet I just never did it myself. And I bought it during COVID-19. I just thought, what can I do to feel better right now? And so I bought this book, and I'm so excited because I'm like, I'm going to get in touch with my higher creativity. And then it's been, I think, 2 weeks and I haven't done anything. And I love the course to kind of, jumpstart it and get going on this. So I just thought that was a very cool connection, that I just bought this and here I meet you, and you're actually someone who leads people through this in order to tap into themselves, tap into their creativity, and it just helps us work through whatever like pain or issues or things that we're feeling.
Totally. I love that synchronicity. Don't you love it? I love it. I know. I
And so
know.
that would be on your website as well, Junie, to be able to.
Yeah. Well, first I'm doing this master class because not everybody might want to do a 13-week artist's way. I call it Shine Your Light the Artist's Way. And they may not want to, although I suggest in order to really ground the principles and to really get it into becoming a lifestyle, to do that. But I'm doing a master class, which is just 4 hours, um, and um, and it's on May 28th. And it's called, and it's creativity during the time of Corona. And that's on my website as well. And people can sign up for that. It's a 4-hour class, and it's really accessing your creative genius during challenging times, whenever they are. Yeah.
And I think it's like we were saying earlier, this is a gift. In many ways, this is a very hard time for people. And we're not going to diminish that. There are people in pain. It can be really tough out there, and in a variety of ways. However, if we can take this time to see it as also a gift where we can be introspective and go within and really like build ourselves up, this is the time. And we're about to wrap up here, Junie, but is there anything else that you would like to add or share with our viewers right now on how to just navigate this time and to kind of lift yourself up?
I think that I always call writing a meditation on the page.
Yeah.
And because it's just you and yourself. And you're not, if you're thinking and planning what to say, then you're not really just moving with whatever's moving you. So I would, whatever your form of being quiet and finding that peaceful, quiet place inside, because right now, for all of us, it's not to be diminished. Thank you for saying that, Nisha. Yes, there are many tools, and it can be an incredible time for healing and reframing. There's also people who are, seduced by the news and what the latest, do this and do that and do this and do that. And to me, the place where we get the best advice at all is from our heart. And we can hear our heart in the quiet places, in the silence, on the page, going for walks in nature, just doing whatever we can to just be still and listen to, because we have messages that come just for us. Just for us. What I get isn't what you're going to get. Mm-hmm. It's right into our inbox in our heart.
Oh, I love it. Someone Jan just wrote, writing is a meditation on the page, which I think is beautiful. It's a way to just get deeper into ourselves. And I want to say thank you so much, Junie, for joining us today, for sharing, your wisdom, your thoughts, your experiences, yourself, as you have navigated, this world, and being true to yourself and who you are. And I think we can use this time in COVID-19 to really be honest and share how we're feeling, because I don't think we should feel that there's a stigma attached to what we go through, because let's be honest, if we look to our neighbors and we look to our friends, who isn't going through something?
Absolutely. And one last thing that I did want to mention is that if people go to my website and if they're interested, I offer a complimentary hour session. Wonderful. To just like a strategy session, if they're going through a tough time of anything that's going on, whether they want to write their book or just know it's creative or how to navigate getting out of bed in the morning. I'm happy to do that. And you just have to go onto my calendar, and there's an online calendar on the website, and you just book it. That's all.
Amazing. Thank you, Junie. That's very kind of you. And to leave everyone just, this is how we connect as humans, right? By being honest about who we are and what we're feeling and what we go through. That life isn't always easy, and that's okay, because that's what it means to be a human. And, I think right now is the best time for us to know that we can be real And by being authentic, we then hold a safe space for others to be themselves. And I just want to say thank you for sharing your experiences, your thoughts, and your heart with us. And to everyone watching, like, thank you for joining us. And if you felt that this was helpful for you, please feel free to share the link. It will be on the Stigma-Free Society page as well as my page. And also, please join us next week. We have an amazing, another speaker, Lenita, and we will continue to do this to support our community and to support everyone, families, kids, everyone, so that we come out of this elevated and stronger.
Amen.
Thank you, Junie. Have a
Thank
wonderful
you,
day, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, now I'm just going to end it. This is the part, the technology part. There we go. And broadcast. Bye, everyone.